It's Quest,
the adventure game podcast.
Oh, Jess, let's jump right into it. We have a special guest this week. So excited to bring her in.
Could not be more excited. This is a real treat.
Yeah. Julia Minamata is an artist and game designer who's worked on art for games like Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator and Space Warlord Baby Trading Simulator. I need to play the second one. I have played the first. I really enjoyed it. She launched the game The Crimson Diamond in 2024 in the EGA adventure game mystery like Laura Bow, The Colonel's Bequest. We'll definitely be talking about that. Welcome in. Hello, Julia.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, what a thrill. Jess has been playing the
Yes.
Crimson Diamond these past weeks on his stream.
Yes, it's delightful, as everyone else. I'm guessing a lot of our listeners have also played it or watched streams of it. What an accomplishment. What a joy to get to play, and what a joy to get to talk to you about it.
Thank you so much for streaming it and sharing it with your community, because 2024, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it feels like a long time ago to me now.
Yes.
And a billion trillion games have come out since then. And there's just so many amazing games coming out, and there's only so much time in a day and a week. And anytime someone, now, especially now more than ever, decides they're going to play it, stream it, all that stuff, it's like super important to me, because it just, you're kind of bringing it back up in people's, minds, or introducing it to them for the first time. And that's really important to me. So thank you so much for playing it and for streaming it.
Oh, it is a pleasure. Absolutely. No, thank you.
And it's also because of the graphic style and the fact that it's a text parser. It's also like, it's kind of out of time. Like, I don't think it's not a 2024 game. It's not it kind of, it lives, it has a very special timelessness.
Yeah, it exists simultaneously in 2024 and 1989, which is kind of beautiful, because I feel like I do as well. I exist in 1989 and 2 years before the current day, roughly is where I also reside. So that checks out. Yeah, I'm a little behind on everything.
Aren't we all, though?
And we'll talk more about that when we get to the overall topic of today. But first, how are both of you doing? Jess, I'll start with you. Jess, how are you doing today?
I'm doing terrific. I was saying before the stream, I'm nearing the end of my semester. My day job is teaching at a university, and we are in the tail end of our spring semester right now. We're about to enter what we call Dead Week at our university, which I believe is called that because everyone at the university wishes they were dead by that point in the semester. So, but I'm doing well. I'm cruising toward the end, and had a nice day of classes today. But I'm well. How about you, Ben? I heard you've been having fun with public transit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Julia, you might not know, I live in Chicago. And immediately before this, I have a class that I take, and usually I come in and have about 20 minutes before the podcast to kind of, but there was a train derailment, and everyone's fine. No one was hurt other than a train. The train was probably hurt, but no people were. So
that's very important.
Very glad about that.
Not to diminish the suffering of the train.
No, not at all.
But what it led to was I rode a train, and then the conductor is like, all right, this is as far as we go. And then like riding a bus, and then running up the street. And it's also a very warm day here. And I refuse to turn my air conditioner on this early in the year. Just don't wanna. I just don't wanna.
Right.
Come on.
But I probably should at this point. It's pretty warm.
It was warm here today too. We had flurries last weekend, which was very upsetting, but it has been warm recently.
And yeah, so and you're up in where, like, What region of Canada are you in?
Ontario, Toronto,
Oh,
Ontario.
you're in Toronto.
Yes,
Oh, cool.
yes.
Okay. Which I hear is very similar to Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys are, I guess, windier, I'm assuming, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's basically the same type of weather, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how are you doing today?
I am doing well. Yeah, I have been, after the Crimson Diamond launched, I decided I wanted to focus on just some small little projects because that game took a while to
Mhm.
come out. It took many, many years. And yeah, it's been a wonderful time, not only working on my own small things, but collaborating with other people and also working on, yes, Space Warlord Baby Trading Simulator pixel art, which is really nice. Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun to work because it's basically like 1-bit art, really. It's
Yeah.
and it's just so much fun and lower resolution than even the Crimson Diamond is. And I also did a Playdate Season 2 game with Golasso Games called Change's Lucky
Oh.
Escape. That is an adventure game as well. And it's black and white. That was so much fun to put together with him. And I also made an Over the Garden Wall, a tiny Over the Garden Wall adventure game, which is free to play on my itch.io page if you want to play that. You can even play it in browser. And
Ooh.
that was a commission that I got last year. And I don't know if you guys know the show, but do you guys know the show Over the Garden Wall?
No, I'm not
Uh,
familiar with it.
It is, I recommend it very, very highly. There's about 10 episodes, I think, but they're all like 23 minutes long or something if you were going to stream it. So it's a couple hours tops to watch the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one of the best cartoon series probably ever.
Okay.
And it came out about 11 years ago. And I remember when it came out, I loved it so much and I was a big fan of it. And when I got this opportunity to work on a tiny adventure game for it, I like totally jumped at the chance. And I got to work with some of the people who worked on the show even,
Ooh.
including Elijah Wood, who was
Whoa.
the main character, who voiced the character in that. And so I got to like write lines for Elijah Wood and he did them for me.
Oh wow. I'm looking at I googled this, and it's one of those things where now that I've googled it, I realize I've seen images from this on social media and just had no context for what it was.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, now I have a name to put to this. It looks adorable. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really they wanted it to be for just this Halloween event they had last Halloween, and the brief was something that's going to take like 15 to 20 minutes to play. 2 or 3 backgrounds like rooms in it, and that's
Mhm.
it. So very, very, very small game, and even still, there's like a PDF walkthrough of it. So if anyone wants to play it, yeah, please go ahead. It's absolutely free to play. But yeah, stuff like that where I just got to do something in it for a few months and then put it out, and then it's out there and people get to enjoy it, and that's been my year. And now, right now, what I've been doing, and I also stream
Mm-hmm.
on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. I've been making a tiny adventure game next. That's my next thing.
Is that the AGI
Yes,
style?
yes, the AGI
Or is
style, the
it
double
in
lights.
AGI? Or are you
No,
okay?
no. I'm using Sprite for the
Okay.
artwork,
Mhm.
but I've always loved that AGI style artwork so much, and
Mhm.
I knew I didn't want to commit to like a multiple year long project for that style, but I knew I wanted to explore that style at least somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been taking the opportunity to make a tiny little adventure game. The working title is The Deadly Bluff,
Mm-hmm.
and also take that opportunity to learn more Sprite because it's a really, really good pixel art program that I dabbled in slightly with the Crimson Diamond, but because the development cycle was kind of like had all this momentum already, I didn't want to change
Mm.
anything that I was using midstream or anything like that. So this has been a wonderful way for me to learn about this program and also delve into this even more retro style of EGA graphics.
That's
I love it.
what we just our last episode was on Gold Rush.
Yes, I saw that. I'm like, yes, exactly. I've been looking at a lot of Gold Rush screenshots.
I mean,
It's a
Gold
gorgeous
Rush is
game.
It's gorgeous.
beautiful.
Yes.
Did you ever play AGI games either like at the time or emulated in the way where it will draw in the colors
Mm,
on the screen?
I did play them. I remember playing King's Quest 3 in the day. I remember playing Space Quest 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I played a few of them. I didn't play Gold Rush. I didn't play
Mm-hmm.
Manhunter, any of those or anything. But yeah, I did have distinct memories of playing like that when they draw on the screen. I think
Yeah.
King's Quest as well. Like it was
Mhm.
magical to me. Like I love
Oh, it
that
really
effect
was.
so much.
It's
And yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cool and you know, we've talked about on here. It's such a cool effect because it's like, you know, especially like even as a kid, I was like, "Oh, it's because it's a storybook."
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what I
yeah,
always assumed as a
exactly.
kid. I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was a technical load bearing sort of
Mhm.
decision, you know. But I mean, it looks so elegantly done. I mean, it
Mhm.
feels like the sort of thing that would be like a crazy filter you would find in
Yes.
a video editor to get it to do something like that, to layer in the vector lines and colors and everything. Yeah, but as a kid, it's like, yeah, it's just coloring in a coloring book for
Yeah.
me. And occasionally I would feel like, you know, as you'd see the layers come in, you might get a little hint of a
Mhm.
location that was like clearly, you know, separate from the rest. You might occasionally get a little peek behind the scenes of how these games are put together. It was just
Yes.
such a great part of the experience. I would love to see Scum VM and some of the other emulators
Hmm.
really incorporate that more directly.
It
I'm
it
oh god.
it's so it's possible to do that still. There's a program called SCI Companion called, by
Yes.
Phil Forte, but yeah, I am not using it, so you will not see draw steps in this tiny game, unfortunately, to my regret. But yeah, it's one of those things where I tried SCI Companion for like 5 minutes. I'm like, I'm not gonna do this.
Too
Not this way.
too much. Way
It's
Too
too
an
much.
much.
older piece of software, right? Has that been updated in recent years, or am I just behind on it?
I don't know, actually. I'm not too
Yeah,
sure.
I might be wrong
Yeah.
about that.
Mm.
I'm just taking wild stabs at things, but no. Uh, yeah, I think, you know, Ben and I have a little bit of a gap in age between us. Like for me, AGI was where I started out gaming. King's Quest II was my first PC game, and I really devoured a lot of those AGI games as they were coming out. And you know, for me, when it was like time to, you know, when me and my friends made StairQuest, it was
Mhm.
all about like, how can we take this AGI aesthetic and recreate it? And sort of the difference we ended up splitting. It's like, you know, how true to the form are you versus where do you cheat a little bit to create kind of the version of AGI you remember in your head? I think we cheated a lot more than you did. Like we have, I think sometimes there were like 19 colors on the screen
Yes.
at
Yeah.
once, and a few little shortcuts like that. And, you know, but it is such a fun, you know, effort. I say this is the person who wasn't the artist, you know, I'd be like, we should really recreate this look. Tell me how that goes. I'd love to see your work. Yeah, no, it's, I think that there is such nostalgia in this community
Mhm.
for that. And, you know, Ben and I've talked about this before as well. You know, I suspect a lot of the artists working on it back then probably found it hugely frustrating to be limited to this, you know, low resolution and this limited palette, and for it to be an aesthetic choice that
Yes.
a lot of creators choose to embrace today, I'm sure is baffling to a lot of the people who were in the industry at the time.
Absolutely, because yeah, when I played these games, I was a kid, and I didn't have to deal with like the blood, sweat, and tears that it took to get the games to be like that. I only was coming at it from childlike wonder and not thinking like this was a compromise,
Mhm.
whatever was on the screen. It was just pure joy to me, and that's why I was so interested in recreating that look, is to recreate that, yeah, the feeling I had when I was a kid. And I feel very fortunate that the tools nowadays are at the point where if you have very limited technical knowledge, which I still consider myself being one of those people, you can still make stuff and not be an engineer or anything like that. You can actually have these wonderful accessible tools like Adventure Game Studio, which is what I used for the Crimson Diamond, and I'll be subsequently using going forward, because it's a wonderful tool with an excellent community around it, and just being able to get help from other Adventure Game Studio developers when I'm stuck on something. I could not have finished anything had it not been for the community.
So, we'll detour because now we're going way too on topic.
I'm so sorry.
No,
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 no.
no.
This is just shocking all of our listeners. Usually Ben and I take 45 minutes to talk about anything relevant to adventure games. So this is great. They're all like, finally, can we can we switch to this format?
Uh, uh, but I have a question. And Julie, I'll ask you,
Hmm.
what have you been playing?
Oh no.
And I can throw it to Jess if you don't want to
No,
be
no,
on
no,
the spot.
no. This I'm prepared for this.
Uh-huh.
Is the jazz going to be playing the entire time?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
Okay.
that's an
the
important
jazz
part
is
of it.
to,
Yeah,
to
Okay.
transport you
Non-negotiable.
into a cool club where you're playing a game.
Right. That's what we do
like
all the
people
time.
do. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You go to a jazz club with your laptop.
Well, I did mention I stream, and I stream on Tuesdays, and I do game development, but I also play retro games. And what I've been playing and very much enjoying recently is a game from 1986, published by Enix, which later became Square Enix. And it's a game by Yuji Horii, who is, of course, famous for creating the Dragon Quest series.
Yeah.
But before then, he created 3 mystery adventure games.
What?
The first game is Portopia, Serial Murder Case, which in Japanese is Portopia Renzoku Satsujin Jiken. And I did play that on stream. I had a fabulous time with it. I'm playing, I think accidentally, I'm playing the third one right now, which is Kurizawa Yukai Anai. And then there's a third game that is Hokkaido Rensa Satsujin. And they're, they have the draw steps as well, even though it's completely different engine that they're using. I'm playing it on emulator, on an MSX emulator. Having a ball with it, like what he's playing with in terms of the UI for it. It's got kind of like a SCUM interface, but there's no mouse yet because it's 1986.
Right.
And you gotta, if you want to do like a particular verb, then you have to press like an action button, like 1 to talk to somebody or 2 to investigate something. Then you get a list of things that you can, 1 is fire hydrant, 2 is telephone booth, 3 is lawn, and then you press the 3 if you want to investigate the lawn.
Whoa.
But then when you get to different states, I'm in chapter 5 of this game, and sometimes like now it's like a point-and-click interface, where if you want to investigate, you then have to use like the arrow keys to like move an icon with arrow keys, and then you have to like try to activate that particular hotspot. They even have a part that's got text parser, where you have to like look in a roster of names, and you have to like enter in the name in Japanese. So I am fascinated by it because it's doing so many different types of input methods in one game. And having a ball, because of course, I don't have any background with these types of games. I didn't even own a console growing up, and I've been really happy that I've been able to use some of my time on my streams to set that aside to actually sit down and play stuff, because a lot of game developers, myself included, we don't seem to really make time to actually play stuff so much, and I really wanted to correct that. Because not only is playing retro games just fun from a nostalgic perspective, but it's also really educational. Because it reminds us of like, here's some game design stuff that we really love, and here's maybe some stuff maybe we want to like not do anymore or just improve upon. And I was constantly thinking about that when I was making the Crimson Diamond. So that's what I've been playing.
That is so fascinating to me that he was like, because I poked in, I watched you playing this, and I did notice this really interesting interface. I was like, wow, that's really and I just kind of wonder like what, and I mean, I don't know if you have an answer to this. I'm just like curious, like I wonder what he was drawing from, if anything, in that game, like if it was inspired by like anything from over here or other Japanese games. Like I know that like Dragon Quest has some lineage from being inspired by wizardry, is my understanding. And so I wonder, like, was there like another, like a similar thing? Because I know wizardry was like, when it went over to Japan, was a massive hit. And so I'm just curious, like, was he inspired by something? Like, where did that come from? I'm just so intrigued by this.
That's a really good question. And there's actually this really beautiful, long-standing tradition of Japanese mystery games that I'm just learning about now. There's another developer, Rika Suzuki, who is a lady, a female Japanese game developer who has developed a number of mystery games, including stuff that even made it across to North America, like Hotel Dusk on the Nintendo DS.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And she also made other games like these JB Harold games, she made Murder Club and things. And I'm wondering if they were in the same cohort, or if one inspired the other. I'm not too sure. But I've really been interested in just digging into that stuff and taking advantage of all the emulators and available. And another thing also that I kind of took into account when playing these is I'm playing them in Japanese, because I actually don't think Kurizawa Yukai Anai has an English translation, and I don't think Hokkaido Rensa Satsujin either does. but I'm also trying to learn Japanese at the same time. And so
perfect.
it's kind of like my way to
Wow.
to practice my reading and pronunciation and comprehension. Of course, I've got like Google Translate on my phone up with me as well to kind of try to help me learn things. And chat has been wonderful too. When there's something like super niche or something cultural that I'm kind of missing the nuance on, sometimes somebody can help out with that as well. And so yeah, there's like so many really good reasons to just be playing these retro and playing the ones I'd never played before. It's been a wonderful experience for like dozens of reasons.
Yeah, I mean that is so cool. I love to hear that. I love to hear, like, I was talking about this on our Discord like earlier this week about like I'm really fascinated by a lot of computer games specifically from like kind of before the 90s, from outside of the United States, because like in Europe and in Japan and like and elsewhere, and I'm sure like this could also be true in like, I don't know, in South America and Africa, I don't know, like there before like the 90s, it seems like each of these had like completely their own kind of computer culture.
Before we decided like exactly what a computer game was supposed to be, and the industry kind of locked into, you know, a few ways that you choose to make one. It's such a fascinating period. Yeah, and I know so little, but it's this just undiscovered country for me to literally and figuratively to get to look at some of these and try to learn about them. Like I was looking at some screenshots of Portopia, and some of the perspective that it uses in the graphics really reminds me of Wizard and the Princess, the earlier Sierra game back in the online systems days. But no, it looks fascinating, and yeah, the interface looks pretty neat. No, that's awesome. Thank you.
Jess, what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? Well, I am in retro
it better
game.
be as interesting.
I spent all day writing up this statement. Let me just find it. No, I mean, it is interesting, and that may be the problem. I've been going back. I needed to capture some footage for a little project I'm working on, and I've been playing Manhunter again.
Oh no!
And let me tell you, yeah, I thought it's like I played through Manhunter for the first time maybe a year and a half ago or so on stream. I never played it as a kid. Honestly, all the screenshots I saw of it creeped me out too much. I was like, I don't know if like 10-year-old me was ready for Manhunter.
Oh, it would have terrified me.
Yeah. And when I played it a couple of years ago, I was like, okay, this is super interesting, but I don't think I get it, and I want to get it. I want to this weird game that doesn't fit anywhere with the rest of Sierra's catalog. It's just like a strange use of the AGI engine. Everything about it feels wrong, and I'm like, I think there's an interesting game here. I just couldn't appreciate it when I was playing it for the first time live, and like had a walkthrough up in one tab and the stream up in another. So I was like, I'm really going to appreciate it this time through when I sit down and actually give it a chance. And you know what? I still find it mystifying and upsetting, and it could be I'm just never going to love Manhunter, which means, of course, it's almost time I need to stream Manhunter 2, right? And maybe that's the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe I should. Maybe once I have the whole series, that'll fix all of my misunderstandings with like why the first one seemed like an upsetting slog. So yeah, I've been back at Manhunter and still utterly perplexed by it.
So
Ben, what have you been playing?
On the topic of graphical throwbacks, I've been playing the game. I believe it's still in early access. I have it pull it up. Yeah, it's still in early access. The game X Zodiac. X Zodiac is a Star Fox SNES throwback. So it has those flat vector, like kind of the mode.
Look at those polygons.
Yeah, it's like just solid color polygons, bright colors, little animal pop-ups going like
Oh, look at those
And-
explosions. Look at those bitmapped explosions.
Now, I do have to warn you, it's very difficult.
Yeah, I could never play Star Fox. Like, it was too difficult for me, so I'm sure this will be worse.
Like Star Fox, it's funny. Star Fox 64 is actually more my Star Fox.
Hashtag not my Star Fox.
Yeah, but you know, like I am still. I do love the like the 16-bit era faux 3D trying to make like a 3D because I remember I could put myself in my mind as a kid at that time, and the idea of something being in 3D on my Genesis was like, it was like, holy, I can't believe this is in 3D on my Genesis.
That's one more D than most of the games I'm playing.
and so like it scratches this little part of my brain when I see these graphics and like where it's like, wow, we're getting away with something. We're doing 3D on the like in 16-bit. And I remember I was like, so recently when I was playing Exodiac, I was hanging out with a couple friends on like a private Discord channel with some of my close friends. I was just sharing my screen, and I was like, I said to my friend, I never beat the first level. That's how hard this is. Ooh. And because I said that, I was so locked in that I made it all the way like to the third. Like
nice, man, you did it.
I started to lock in when I said to my friend, I was like, Laura, you're just going to see me like crash and burn on the first level. I played this first level like a dozen times, and then that was the moment.
That's the breakthrough. That's the breakthrough. I mean, that's how it goes, like in a game, especially of that era. It's like you're stuck. And then the one time you finally get past it, you like blow past it a few more levels down the game. I mean, that is the classic, especially I think retro console game experience, right? The one part you couldn't finish, and then once you finish, it's like, okay, I beat World 4.3, and now I'm just going to power on through to like World 6.1. That was the only thing holding me back.
The kind of like way that they make it a little more modern is it's like, well, number one, I don't think like an SNES could quite have this many, but it runs at kind of a higher frame rate, which also like actually looks really cool to have like these flat polygons and these big chunky graphics moving so smoothly. Like my brain is like, oh, how'd they do that? It's like that part was probably the easier part. But yeah, so that's what I've been playing, and it also, you know, it kind of ties into the theme. It is not a EGA game, but it is a purposeful throwback, a celebration of a specific aesthetic that was thrust on the people that made Star Fox.
That was the best they could do.
But so yeah, let's get into it. We were talking a little bit before we started, Julia, about like Jess and I we've said this on this podcast before, that we love the look of the SEI Zero games. And honestly, I couldn't even really tell you which one I think is the best looking one, because I think they all, like even Codename Iceman, which is mostly kind of static, it doesn't have that many. It has that beautiful sunset scene.
It does.
They're standing up. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with that sunset scene, but I think it's really beautiful. But it's like both of the Quest for Glories, I think, are beautiful. Laura Bow looks spectacular. Like all of those games,
Space Quest 3, oh my goodness.
Yeah, like have always, and I've always been like, oh, that's one of my favorite. And when you put out a demo, do you recall when you put out the demo for Crimson Diamond?
I think it might have been something like 2018, like late
Yeah.
Oh
2018.
wow.
Yeah. I remember like somebody retweeting it,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, someone's doing this?
Yes.
Someone's making a game like this? And I downloaded that demo and played like just 10 minutes of it, and I was like, I'm not going to play any further because I know this is exactly what I want, and I don't need to. I'm sold. And so like, it's exciting to have you both as an artist and a designer who also like appreciates this and hopefully can help us unpack why is it
Yeah.
so great.
And maybe before
Why?
we dive too far into it, maybe for our listeners that aren't familiar with the Crimson Diamond, could you tell everyone what the Crimson Diamond is?
Yeah, absolutely. The Crimson Diamond is a cozy mystery adventure game. It's very retro styled. It's got that 16 color EGA color palette. It's got a text parser interface. It's got a soundtrack composed on a Roland MT32, a genuine, real Roland
Oh,
I didn't know
MT32.
that.
I didn't either. That's amazing.
Yeah. Dan Policaro is incredible. The incredible composer for the soundtrack. He made more than 40 minutes of music for the game.
Wow.
Wow.
We collaborated on the soundtrack, most of it on live on Twitch, in fact. And
Oh,
so
cool.
he kind of hooked up somehow the Roland MT32 to his Pro Tools, and we were away. We just composed most of it that way. Really fun way to work on a soundtrack because it was me giving him feedback or chat giving feedback. Really fast way of working. Dan works really super fast, even despite all the limitations that hardware has. So yeah, the game looks and plays and sounds like the old stuff, but also like talking about playing old retro games and kind of trying to take lessons from that and saying, well, that was not so enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we don't want a limited inventory. Maybe we don't want, hard locks. We don't want soft locks. We don't want any of that stuff. I want to get rid of the stuff that bothered me. Even something very specific, like when you look at something like the Colonel's Bequest and you've got that accidental progression of the game when you kind of stumble
Yes.
into an encounter, stuff like that. Like I was very aware of that stuff and not wanting to do that necessarily for what I wanted to. Not to say that that is like a mistake for them. Like I think the Colonel's Bequest is really revolutionary in a lot of ways, and especially compared to what had come before. But it's not really the way I wanted to go about it. And so the game is old school, but with some modern quality of life design improvements. And it is that it? I guess I should talk about what the story is. I'm a Canadian. I'm here in Toronto, Ontario, and the game is set in Ontario, and it starts in downtown Toronto. You play Nancy Maple, which is kind of like this weird combination of like Miss Marple in
Mm-hmm.
Canada and Nancy Drew. And you're a clerk at the museum, and they send you on assignment up to Crimson, Ontario, which was an old garnet mining town, and you have to investigate a diamond claim there. And while you're there, of course, hijinks and schemes happen, and you have to kind of unravel everything that's going on while you're there.
One of the things you talk about kind of kind of like making it a little more like a couple modern touches. One of the things I really appreciated playing the game, and Jess, chime in. I know you're playing it right now. Is
Mhm.
it feels the text parser is uh a lot friendlier and responsive than the games that I played from the time. Jess, would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. I mean, the text parser. I've been really pleasantly surprised at some of the interactions that I've been able to pull out of it. I'm a text parser nerd. Again, part of when we worked on StairQuest, a big part of what we want to do there is just create the most
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous parser we
Yes.
could on it, and that's really, to me, just rewarding to get a game to respond to something you never imagined that
Mm-hmm.
the developers would anticipate you saying. And there's a lot of that, and a lot of it does a good job of hinting you. I think the game does a really nice job in the parser of giving you a clear sense of when something isn't going to work to maybe ease off of it a little bit. Like, no matter what, I can't hand somebody a raw cookie I've been carrying around in my pocket. And the game makes it very clear. It's like, just quit trying, dude. Like, just leave it alone. Which, I think back to games like, I started on King's Quest 2, and it has those sorts of parser responses like, you can't do that, at least not now, which as a kid to me meant it's like, oh, so I can do it later. Yeah. I'll just keep doing this over and over again until it does work. And yeah, I mean, that sort of quality of life, having a robust parser and, nice signposting in a lot of those messages goes a long way. It really is a quality of life feature that's, I think, easy to overlook.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that I wanted to put in that didn't really exist back in those times. Stuff like, the notebook that kind of shows you your objectives and the game progression steps that you have to take. The hint book that opens up in browser, that's kind of like a universal hint system style. And also the flexibility of the text parser, which I also think back in the day there was a bit of a limitation there as well when it came to like the technology at the time. Adventure Game Studio does have a text parser baked into it.
I didn't
And
know that.
it's very easy. I mean, it's relatively easy to implement, and I'm able to give it synonyms and kind of give it different ways of phrasing different sentences. And I did really try my best to make it so that people could phrase stuff in different ways. I always say that the item in the game that has the most synonyms is like the trash can, because different places have different ways of saying that. They say like waste paper basket or bin or trash can or trash. And that was the one that definitely, I don't know how many synonyms it has, but I can tell you that one has the most.
Was making a reflexive parser, was that something also like testers helped with, or like, okay,
or even developing on stream? Was that a useful way to get some of these synonyms locked in?
It was definitely whenever I would get feedback about, I think this word would also work for that, or this is what we call that here. Like, I would always try my best because it's relatively easy to do that in the game. And there was something like oh, actually, I don't want to spoil anything. Well, Jess, how far are you into the game?
I'm midway through chapter 4.
Oh, wow. Okay, you're pretty far in. Okay, so let's see. Did you already maybe you haven't got to this part, so I'm not going to mention it. But like for instance, certain items of clothing are called different things in different places, and so I'm always happy to accommodate those suggestions. Not so much. I wouldn't. I was very careful when streaming the game. I didn't want to have any spoilers showing, because it's an adventure game. It's like very narrative focused. And I didn't want anyone who was going to come visit me on my streams to be worried that anything would be spoiled for them. And so most of the time that I would spend working on the Crimson Diamond was kind of updating the introductory sequence artwork, which was all placeholder. And it was placeholder for a long time. And there's a lot of artwork in that intro. And so no one knew what was going to happen in the game past the demo until the game launched.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Except for Roberta Williams. Because I got the opportunity to meet Roberta Williams at the Adventure Game Fanfare. Was that 2024, 2023? I don't remember. But they did have one, and they had a lot of Sierra alumni come in, and I got my Colonel's Bequest box signed by her and signed by Ken Williams, signed by Doug Herring, who did the artwork, who's a hero of mine. Love his work so much in that game. And
his concept art for Dagger of Amun-Ra is gorgeous.
He's amazing. And so I sent her the demo, and so she played a bit, and she wrote a nice little blurb for my Steam store page. And she asked me, about, is there any murders in this game or anything like that? And I told Roberta, because I'm not going to not tell Roberta what's happening in the game. And I just said, well, this is kind of what happens, but please don't tell anybody because no one else knows. And she didn't, so she was the only one who knew, besides my testers, of course, no one else knew. And I was very careful about that because, and it's really nice that you didn't end up playing more in the demo, because some people are very conscious about not wanting to spoil it. Some people saw the trailer and like, oh, well, I don't need to even play the demo because I know I'm going to want to try this later on. So I'm as careful as they are, because that's the last thing I wanted for something I spent that long on, for anyone to get spoiled about it later. And even now, people don't really talk about about what's actually in the game too much, I don't think, which is nice.
Yeah. And one thing also I appreciate from when I played it is also like there is a degree of kind of replayability in that, like, when I played it, and again, well, without giving anything away, there were certain mysteries that I didn't like fully pursue. And so at the end of the game, it was like, you might want to check this out.
Mhm.
There's, this whole thing that you left aside. And so it's like, oh, well, there's even more.
Yeah.
There's a lot of game in there.
Which I love as someone who, like, as a kid went through Colonel's Bequest, like maybe seen a quarter of the plot like for several playthroughs as a child. Like, I appreciate that. I mean, the fact that already my chat has been pointing out to me that on some of the puzzles, multiple solutions that
Mhm.
I solved some of these things a little bit differently. So that replayability is a real treat.
It can be really tricky to build replayability into an adventure game because adventure games require so many assets and backgrounds and stuff. A lot
Mhm.
of stuff doesn't get reused really. You might take hours and hours and hours on a scene that is up for 3 seconds and no one ever sees it again. So when it comes to stuff like branching plots and stuff like that, you really, at least for me, I don't want to spend a lot of time on something that 15% of people are going to ever see.
Mhm.
So when it came to the replayability aspect of the game, I was really careful about being kind of not wanting to, yeah, like develop a lot of assets that were gonna be one branch of something only, really. Like the game is not. I'm not going to talk about how the game is branched and how that works yet, because of course, yeah, Jess,
Mhm.
you have not finished the game, but yeah, I was very conscious about, like, well, in terms of how I'm going to show difference in the game, and it's more like the detail of the knowledge that you eventually uncover. That's
Mm.
that's what is different. The degree of detail that
Mhm.
you start to learn about, more than a whole path, a side path that
It's
you
not
would take or not take.
Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
Mhm.
You're not doing the
Wait, there's no
the
fists
Nancy
path at
Right,
any
April
point in
exactly.
this. Oh
path.
man.
Yeah, there's no fist path in the Crimson Diamond. Um, and I think part of it is because of the way that the story is actually designed. It's a kind of a mess of like interconnecting things,
Mhm.
and I think in order to do something that's truly branching, you have to be a lot better organized than I was, and kind of think about it in a more modular way where you can
Mhm.
kind of drop different things and replace things. And it simply doesn't work like that. You tug on one thing and like five different things are like
Yes.
moving. So I did not feel confident enough. So that's another reason why there's not a lot of like true branching in the game. Is first of all, it would have been a lot of extra assets that a percentage of your players aren't going to see. And second of all, I just don't even know if I could have like actually like done that design wise, because I was learning how to make a game. This is my first game that I ever made, and I did not know how people design games or how they document their design process. And I did not have a design document until chapter 4.
Mm.
Oh wow.
Um, because the game started to get really complicated by the time chapter 4 rolls around, and I was having everything in my head up to that point, and it was really hurting my brain.
Yeah.
And by that time I had done contract work for Strange Scaffold, the people who make Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator, and I worked with them on a number of other things. And by then I had become privy to how people actually make games and
Mhm.
know what they're doing, and people have these design documents and they write down like what should happen and what assets they need and all those things. I thought that was a really good idea and very welcome, for when the game was getting really super complicated, to design. And so chapter 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Are there 7 chapters in my game? I don't think so. No, 4, 5, and 6 have design documents, and that did really help me to get to design those. And that was when it kind of came at the perfect time, because yeah, it was becoming just too much to hold in my head at once.
You said there are all these moving pieces, and you sort of described it earlier as a mess at times.
Yes.
But I like this, as a player. And again, it's something that I loved about Colonel's Bequest growing up as well. You really feel like Nancy is in over her head, in much the same way that it can feel like that in Laura Bow if you're missing out on a lot of key conversations. Like, I know there are bodies popping up and stuff like that, but what the heck's going on here is a mystery to me, which feels kind of right. I mean, Nancy nor Laura is like a professional detective
Mhm.
by stretch of the imagination, and I feel like that works, and that rewards a player who wants to go back and be like, well, I think I can actually do better than I did that first
Mhm.
time around and wrap my brain around more of what's going on here.
So I want to return a little bit to like this the question of the 16 colors of
Mhm.
EGA. What appeals about that for you?
Yes. There's something about simpler graphics that I always find more appealing, more compelling, more engaging than super hyper realistic graphics.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have to say it's got to do with kind of like when you're reading like a novel, those tend not to have any pictures. You kind of are left up to the reader's imagination to create that in your head. And I've always felt that simpler graphics leaves room for the player's interpretation of what is going on with what things look like, what people look like, which I think is a lot more fun than having something that's incredibly realistically depicted. There's just so little wiggle room for imagination when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, just taste wise, those games are incredible achievements, technically, creatively. I'm not going to like say that they're not because they absolutely 100% are. I'm very impressed with what is possible nowadays, but that's never really been what has made games fun or interesting to me. And when you have these limitations like the 16 color EGA color palette, it does force you to be creative. If you can't do everything, you have to choose a few things that you can do, and those choices are what are interesting to me. And specifically when it comes to EGA, the colors are not, I don't want to say they're not great because that's colors are very subjective, they're very taste based, but people who are far more technical than me have informed me that that particular palette was again a technical consideration based on, well, what is easy to depict. I mean, whatever the coding or hex or whatever they're doing there, it's very efficient to have these colors, and it was not it was not an aesthetic choice.
Mm.
And the colors are all very very bright.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
kind of what I love.
I do too.
Mhm.
I love the brightness,
Mm-hmm.
and then also how like purpley and like night is.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
night scenes
That
in EGA.
They
like
glow, they're
the
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
purple and that dark blue,
Hmm.
and then a little then you get like the bright oranges
Yeah.
for any light source. I don't know.
How about like the nighttime sky in Shapir
Sapir.
in Quest for Glory 2? Oh,
Yeah.
just yeah.
It's like luminous, and it's a type of thing that only really works on like a computer display.
Mm.
Um, it reminds me of like stained glass, even. It's just the light is shining through to us in these very bright colors. And what's amazing to me is the ability of the artists to create all kinds of moods and atmospheres with what are like Lego, like basic Lego brick colors, like not even the stuff they have nowadays with Lego, but um, that's fascinating to me. Also, what's fascinating to me is that when you look at those screenshots, everything, yeah, crystal clear, crisp pixel graphics. Because we all know what came after EGA, which was VGA, which was, you know, it was scanned in painted backgrounds that were then downsampled because for space considerations, and it was blurry. That stuff was very blurry, and I don't mind that as a style, but I've always liked the crispness of seeing every single pixel and what it's doing in an EGA background. And I think that crispness did help me as I was kind of studying the style of EGA to learn how to do it myself. Um, because you knew exactly, okay, well, we know we're working with 320 by 200 resolution. We know we're working with this 16 colors, and nothing else. There's no mystery there, and that part was really fun to me too. Also, I just really love super bright colors. Um,
I agree with you. It's all like, something I think about a lot is when I play newer city builders, like
mhm.
say City Skylines or City Skyline 2. I always go back and I go, I think SimCity 3000 looks the best because SimCity 3000 has like, especially because that came out in what, like the late 90s, early 2000s. It has that Maxis
Mm.
super bright palette
Mm-hmm.
that you have in The Sims 1, and you have like in a couple of other things that they were doing at that time. And I love like the bright green, the bright, like when, to me, that's what a city builder city looks like, is like the candy colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love this comparison that you made to stained glass. Like I'd never thought of the EGA graphics like that, but you said that it's like, oh yeah, no, that's a great comparison. It does feel almost like the colors are shining out of your monitor at you. And yeah, I mean it really is for someone. I played King's Quest 2 when I was 9 years old or whatever, and it was like it was an open world hyper realistic simulator in my head because again those graphics leave so much room for imagination. Like I was happy to fill in all the blanks of everything that was going on that screen. And it really is just sort of magical in a way. I think leaving the room for imagination, as you said, really goes a long way.
I think a bit about the catacombs in Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade in the EGA version, which are all just like kind of black with just some light outlines, and there's a lot of like negative space. And when you look at what is generally in circulation, like you have to track down the EGA version of Last Crusade,
which I did as well. I played that on stream.
If you play the like the VGA version of it, it loses a lot of that atmosphere, and a lot of those look like the Secret of Monkey Island 256 is pretty good, and that's like I'm like I prefer the 16 color version of it, especially how they draw Elaine's hair. Like Elaine's hair has all these like spirals in it, which are really beautiful. But then like you look at the versions of Last Crusade and especially Loom.
All those deluxe
Look what they did to my boy.
Running wild. You don't need gradients, you need dithering.
Dithering. Oh, I love the dithering. Absolutely. Yeah, and also even from like a game design, like a practical consideration when it comes to EGA versus VGA is when you had those early VGA games and you had the sprites and then you had objects you could interact with, those objects and those sprites had a limited palette and they stuck out like sore thumbs on those backgrounds. And EGA games, everything is perfectly integrated. The sprites had the same palette as the background, had the same palette as the objects in the scene. So you couldn't say, okay, well, I know I can pick up that bucket because that bucket is clearly, pixeled in a way that the background is not. And I love that part of it too. It just feels truly, everything is integrated harmoniously.
I always noticed that. I always knew that, like, because it's like, you're playing any game, like you'll see like kind of the items that you interact with kind of, you're like, I know I'm going to interact with this. I know I'm going to pick it up.
Exactly.
But you don't do that with the earlier ones. I didn't think of that as a palette thing, but that makes a lot of sense. I just was always like, I don't know, it looks different.
I mean, nowadays, obviously you could just do whatever you want because anything is possible. But back in those days, that's kind of how it was. And in some ways I did kind of appreciate that because you could clearly see what you could interact with. But at the same time, I did like the fact that EGA was the way that it was, and that it wasn't signposted. Like I wasn't being told what I needed to look at. I kind of needed to pay attention myself.
Were the SCI Zero EGA games, were those the first ones that you were playing as a kid?
No, the first adventure game that I played was King's Quest 1. And I played it, I think, like on a Tandy 1000 or something. So it was kind of, I think it was there like a black and green version of that game? Or did I play it in CGA first? I don't remember. But yeah, that was the first. And then from there was the next one. It was King's Quest 3, I think. King's Quest 4, King's Quest 5. Yeah, so like going on and on upwards. But I did find that, my absolute sweet spot for me was those EGA text parser games. And I think a combination, the fact that it was EGA and text parser was this magical combination for me.
Yes.
Because I also feel like that the point and click interface of the stuff like, King's Quest 5 and everything, it's not for me as engaging. Like, I mean, Jess can talk about StairQuest and talk about the fun, the delight people have when they type something and then you have anticipated that, and then you have a response for them for that. Like that is something you really can't compare that to a point and click experience.
Yeah, I was like when Sierra released that first batch of point and click games, I remember just being so bummed out by them. I came around to love a lot of those early games
Oh
too,
yeah, me
and they
too.
got better
Absolutely.
at doing them
Hmm.
as they went on. Those point and clicks got a lot more sophisticated.
Hmm.
That first round of like King's Quest V and Space Quest 4 and Larry 5 that all kind of came out at the same time. I remember thinking, it's like, I just miss my parser. And you hear stories like I probably have most familiarity with like the development of the Space Quest games. And I know that the guys from Andromeda talked about what a bummer it was for them to find out, I think, during development that they were switching over to the point and click because I know that Scott Murphy in particular loved hiding messages
Right.
in a parser to be discovered later, and I think that they've even admitted it took them a little while to figure out how to work around. I think for players, what was lowering the barrier to entry.
Mhm.
But for them, I think probably felt like a real compromise at the time of having to engage it.
Yeah, talking about all like them kind of refining that point and click interface. I've recently been playing the Gabriel Knight Sins of the Fathers, which I had played not that long
Mm-hmm.
ago. Actually, I didn't play it back in the day, but I'm part of this YouTube channel called the Level Zero NPCs, and we've been playing all the Sierra games, the mainline Sierra games, and we finally got around to Gabriel Knight, and there are so many like cursors in that game.
Yes.
It's
Oh, I
ridiculous. Like
don't care for
It's
that.
yeah. Thank goodness we have open and close and no.
operate and
Yeah.
move and push, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So we're watching Luke, who's the one that's playing, and we're commentating, and it's just like we're watching him cycle through the different cursors, trying to open the door or trying to operate the door knocker, and just like, wow, this is stressing me out mildly to watch him cycle through 8 to 9 or 10 different cursors.
Yeah, the the amount of like a lot of verbs that we don't need
Yeah.
in that,
Yeah.
and
You just need look and solve.
Solve. It wasn't in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I think they used turn on and turn off like once in the entire game
yeah, I
on that
think
Yes.
skunk
so.
bar.
Yeah.
It also, I believe, and maybe because that's a multi-branch game,
Hmm.
kind of. At least when I played it, last time I played it, you because it was a Lucas game at that point, like you'd had it was the third one, and so you had Maniac Mansion and
Hmm.
Zack McCracken,
Hmm.
which had constant character swapping, and then Last Crusade has a moment where, at least in my playthrough, where you swap and play as Henry Jones Sr. for like 45 seconds.
Huh.
Like you get to be,
Huh.
Sean
Connolly.
Connery for
Hmm.
just a moment. And I'm just kind of like, I guess it's because they're like, well, this is what we do. This
Yeah.
is what our
Yeah.
This is
games
their thing. This is
have.
their signature.
And actually, Fate of Atlantis does that with Sophia. You get to be
Hmm.
Sophia, and you have you have a purple interface for a second, like for just a moment. So maybe maybe they just want that for the indie games. I guess I don't know. Now I am curious, and I think we have talked about this, or I've talked about this on earlier podcasts. How difficult, without giving anything away, how difficult was it to kind of formulate a whodunit? Because I've written a mystery and I thought it was a nightmare. And so I just want to know, because in my case, and again, I think I've said this already on the podcast, but in my case, like working, and this was for a play, and like, so we would like change something, or we would cut a scene, or maybe like change a line and then be like, oh, like forget that contained an important clue
Mhm.
and then like not pick it up until like way later and be like, oh wait, we forgot to say that this guy always eats peppermints. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
important because that's the important clue. But you know, so how was it for you?
Yeah, it's tough, and when you're making a game, it's tough. It's tough anyway. Making a mystery game is really tough because yeah, it's there. This idea that you have to give players access to the information that they need. You probably need to do it on multiple occasions for them to actually register that information. You don't want to make it too obvious, but then you don't want to make it too oblique. You also, for me, the part that was well, what you mentioned, like just changing it what detail and then forgetting that it's connected to all those other things, like that is a nightmare,
Yeah.
100%. Another nightmare is just the logic of it because like for me, I wanted it to always make sense.
Mhm.
Where when it comes not even just to practically like who can do this and when can they do this and how can this be done, but motivations. Like, is this person motivated to do this? Like, why would they do that? Does this make sense for them to think this at this time? Like all that stuff. When you have multiple characters and that you kind of are thinking they all have different ideas about things, they want to do different things. Their threshold for what they're prepared to do to achieve those things are all different. That was really important for me. That would all, if I presented something to somebody that a character did, they would say, okay, that does make sense, or something,
Mhm.
a puzzle in the game, like, okay, well, it makes sense that you would do it this way. That's really hard to gauge, and part of figuring that out is testing, watching people stream the game, events, watching people play it at events. But a lot of it, and this is the scary part, is a lot of it for me anyway, when it came to designing it, was by feel.
Mm,
How does
Okay.
this feel? And then you have to come back to it after a while to see with fresh eyes. Um, does the is this going to work for players? Is this something that they're going to understand? That was really, really, really important to me. And it's yeah, it is a nightmare. There's no other way to say it. It's very difficult, but I really enjoy the process. And someone like me, who, like I said, this was the first game I'd ever made. I hadn't done any creative writing since like middle school, probably. I hadn't even written anything. It's I think that if I knew starting out that that's what I would eventually make, I think that would have been really intimidating and I might not have wanted to try to do it. But because I was kind of doing it over a really long period of time, slowly and just learning stuff and just enjoying the process, it was easier to get through it.
mm,
But I mean, even now, thinking ahead to, I do want to make a sequel to the game that will be
yeah.
about the same size and same scope of the game, I would say, in terms of like gameplay
Yeah.
time and stuff. Um, Even, like, thinking about just going through that process again and knowing what it involves is really daunting, actually. I'm like, "How can I do that again?" Like, because I'll forget. The game came out,
2
so
years
I was
ago.
gonna say 2 years ago. 2 years ago it came out, but then people will play it and they'll find something I forgot that was in there, or a piece of writing that I'll forget that I wrote, and I'll be struck by, "Oh, wow, okay, there is, like, a lot going on here," because I forget it. I forget to appreciate all this going on in it anymore because I don't think about it so much. But when people play it, and I do sometimes watch people stream it, I'm like, okay, well, that actually does work out fairly well. And it's just thinking I want to recreate that same type of complexity and interconnectedness. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can pull that off again. We'll see.
You
I'm sorry, way back in the early days of the podcast, Ben and I did sort of an episode where we talked about mystery games as a subgenre. And one of the things that we discussed quite a bit there was just the fact that, I think to tell a good mystery story that the the sort of tropes of the adventure genre don't always neatly mesh with it. Like I think it's a great genre for telling stories, but in terms of players piecing together evidence and information, I think sometimes adventure games can feel a bit linear. It can kind of tell you you're solving a mystery because you
Hmm.
picked up something off the
Yeah.
ground, but it
Yeah.
doesn't allow for that sort of free association. And I think that it's something that the best mystery games, and I would say Crimson Diamond absolutely, manages to do this, blends a little bit of that that element of, yeah, you're still playing an adventure game that's somewhat on a linear path, but allows the player to feel like they're having aha moments along the way,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
difficult. I'm curious how you sort of achieved that from a design standpoint.
When I read Steam reviews, and I do, so please, if you like the game, please leave it a positive Steam review. I do read them all. When I read the Steam reviews, there's a few things that I love seeing. I mean, I love seeing a positive review no matter what, but sometimes people will kind of point out particular things that they love. And one of the things that I love to see, one of my favorite things, is when people say it actually feels like I'm doing detective work in this
Yes.
game.
Mm-hmm.
That feels amazing to me. Because like you said, it can be really difficult, especially in a linear game, to give people the feeling that they're actually doing the thing and versus kind of sleepwalking forward to the next plot point. That's difficult. Another thing I love seeing people say is when they say that they really love the story and the characters. That
Mm-hmm.
is really important to me too, because like I never took any creative writing courses. I'd never written anything before in my life. I was doing it all, like, yeah, just like with the design of it by feel of like, well, how would I want to do this and how would I write this? I had no idea. I'm not trained in this. So if someone says that I did a good job with that, it makes me feel like I had really good instincts and intuition about it, which is amazing to think of because you just never know until you put something out there how people are going to feel about it. So those two things are my top. But yeah, in terms of making the game feel detective like with those actions and how to go about that, it's honestly, I knew that there were certain things that I wanted the game to ask people to do. So I mean, you're in chapter 4, so you already know about like the fingerprints and things like
I
that.
was
How
going to
to
say, I love that. Like, that was such, I just felt like a detective riding around this lodge, figuring out how I'm going to get fingerprints. And I love that, some of it is a technical challenge. Some of it is a classic, like, inventory puzzle challenge. Some of it is just thinking outside the box in some neat ways
yes.
to collect fingerprints from everyone.
Yeah, and honestly, the idea for that in the first place came to me from the Colonel's Bequest because the Colonel's Bequest has a couple fingerprints in that game, but
Hmm.
it's not that well integrated, and I felt kind of
Mhm.
disappointed by that. And that was one of the reasons I knew that I wanted to have a better integrated version of that in the Crimson Diamond. So that's definitely where that comes from. And just in general, I feel like with a text parser game, you're going to feel more like a detective when you actually have to formulate your own questions.
It
Mhm.
is interesting thinking about like because I'm now thinking about the games I've played that because it's a kind of a special feeling that you have in your brain, right? Like it's kind of a
Mhm.
different feeling than like even like solving a puzzle in King's Quest or Monkey Island or whatever is like it activates kind of a different part of your brain. And I'm thinking about like the detective games I've played, and we talked about this a couple months ago. Like one of my favorite detective games is Tex Murphy Under a Killing Moon,
Mhm.
and the way that you explore in that game in particular, and I still haven't played the Pandora Directive, um, really made me feel like a detective, like kind of
Mhm.
sneaking around and finding in the same way that in like in Crimson Diamond, like you're using the loop and looking at like little things you find and comparing. It is funny that how important mineralogy factors in.
Yes.
It's like, oh, thank goodness she's a mineralogist because this is extremely usul. She's
Yes.
she's not a detective, but she is a mineralogist. That is
Which is just
remarkably
as good,
important.
maybe better. Yeah, it is neat though. Like, I think a more recent mystery game that I've really enjoyed, or series of mystery games, I've really enjoyed a lot of Frogware's Sherlock Holmes games, which I don't know if you've played any of
No.
those, but they use sort of a mental mapping system where you go into Sherlock's mind palace and you
Mhm.
begin to connect together, pieces of evidence you found with suspects, with theories, and it does a nice job. I mean, it's like ultimately it allows you to get some wrong conclusions and things
Mhm.
like that. But there are only a few ways that all those things go together. But
Mhm.
even then, just having to piece it together by dragging stuff on screen to make connections gives you that sort of aha moment. And yeah, it's not easy to get in an adventure game. So yeah, when it's working, I think it's one of the things that can make mysteries really delightful in this genre.
Yeah,
Other
it's
oh, go ahead.
oh no, I was just going to say it's incredibly satisfying for sure.
Yeah.
Other than Colonel's Bequest, are there other like kind of mystery or detective games that you love, whether or not you use them as like inspiration?
hmm Um, I did not use it as inspiration. I just am very much in love with this game. Is I love Return of the Obra Dinn,
Yes.
which it's not, so much of an adventure game necessarily. It's more like, yeah, what we call, I guess nowadays we call deduction game.
Hmm.
But it's one of the most incredible games I've ever played because of just the way that it's structured and how you're required to investigate these tableaus. And everyone, people have played this game. Um, that is this wonderful feeling of actually feeling like, yeah, you are a detective. You're finding stuff out. Based on all these different things, like what people sound like, what what's the sound of the scene, and people, what are people wearing, the actions that they're being caught up in that moment. That is incredible to me for sure. Unfortunately, I don't play a lot of like recent stuff, but I did play a bit of Seance at Blake Manor,
Oh, I heard that was
which is
really good. I have not played that
which
yet.
I've only played a little bit about it, but it does that same thing about like kind of like structuring like your deductions and like
Hmm.
connecting stuff and everything, which I did find very enjoyable. Um, all that. I can't even remember what the question was at this point.
It was have you played any, and maybe
Yes.
even these like, because I kind of want to go back. This has been kind of scratching at the back of my brain. I kind of want to talk about these Japanese mystery games a little bit more
Yes.
because I've been thinking about this. Does that have like a detective aspect to it? Like, is that activating that part of your brain? I'm curious.
Some of it, yes, because for the most part, those games are fairly simple mechanics wise. But what's really satisfying is, yeah, when you talk to people, you show them things, and they tell you things, and sometimes you can catch them in contradictions.
Mm.
That's really nice. Where someone will say, "Well, yeah, that's not my cigarette lighter," and then someone will also say, "Oh, I go to that store all the time, and that's for sure that guy's cigarette lighter. I've seen him use it." That kind of stuff is just really, I don't know. It's very simple, but again, it's still very satisfying to get to get to catch somebody out like that.
Oh, he's
Um,
lying.
he's lying. But what's so funny about those games actually is that when we talk about pixel hunts in adventure games nowadays, they have nothing on the pixel hunts in this game. I mentioned that part of this game actually kind of becomes like a point and click game, but without a mouse, and you kind of have to use your arrow keys to kind of position the spot that you want to interact with on, or try interacting with on the background. And there are instances in this game where there's no visual cue that there's even anything in that area. It's just
Oh,
like an
wow.
empty ground. And there's no reason to indicate that there'd be anything on, and it's only one spot. And there's about, I gridded it out. It's actually, blessedly, it's low resolution. So, like 25 across by 15 down or something, like the actual different points that you move your, the cursor one, like this, and
Hmm.
one, like this. And so it's about 324 different points on the screen,
Uh-huh.
and it's only that one, and there's no visual,
Great.
there's no
Wow.
writing to indicate that there's something in the corner of this room or anything like that, and so you just kind of have to just tippy tappy tap. And so that does not feel necessary. Okay, it kind of feels like a detective, because I feel like in real life that is what detective work is. Like, you kind of grid something out, and you just are like looking at a patch of earth, and then you move to the next inch, and so that is physically what it would be like, but it's not necessarily like the most engaging aspect of what these games would be. But of course, I will always say this was 1986, and when we talk about the earlier, like pre 90s especially, when we didn't have the genres as codified as we have nowadays, it's kind of fun to see just whatever they came up with. Just they don't. There was no one had any idea what they were doing, and that's fun and really interesting to see.
Are you playing with a walkthrough, or are you solving this yourself? I mean, is there even a walkthrough for, I mean, yeah, like, would there be? Like, certainly not in English.
Here's the thing. Yeah, so this game, the game of this Kurizao Yukai Enai, is there is no walkthrough that I could find in English. There was no walkthrough that I can find in Japanese. The only source that I have for getting, I would not have gotten through this game to any extent as I have now. There is somebody doing a playthrough with no commentary using the MSX version, and it's on It's on YouTube.
Okay.
And so you can kind of see what they're doing because you can see kind of what numbers they're pressing to like do the things. But sometimes you can't see at all what they're doing because sometimes the number press doesn't register on the screen. But you can kind of guess what they're doing. That's what I'm using. That's the only documentation of actually how to get through this game that I have found. I've not dug that deep into it, but it's kind of hard to find information. And it's kind of amazing to me that it's hard to find information on this game because Yuji Horii made this game. He's a legend. And in fact, apparently he was solo deving these things because people go on Moby Games, they check the credits for this game and they're like, he's the only one on this game. Like he did everything.
Wow.
And I don't know why it's not more famous. And I don't know why it hasn't gotten like a fan translation or anything like that. But that's what the terrifying part of this is because when I've streamed and finished a lot of games over the years. Like I've been streaming for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years by now. And I've been able to finish everything except for Neuromancer, which I don't know if you guys have played Neuromancer.
I haven't.
It's based on the William Gibson novel, and it's just got this battle system. Like it's got this hacking battle system that you have to like level up different skills and like different like security systems have different vulnerabilities. And I just could not. And that's the only one I was not able to complete. And I feel very unsatisfied about that. But with this game, it's scary again too, because I could get stuck in this game. And I did get stuck for a little bit until I found this playthrough. And I really badly want to see the rest of this game. I really want to finish it. But the problem is even people in chat, people in chat, they know everything. They don't know either. Which is scary, but also kind of exciting. Because I think if you play something that has been very, well trodden, like something like Loom or something like Monkey Island, then everyone knows everything about these games, and there's no danger that you're not going to finish it. That frightening aspect of it is kind of exhilarating in a way, and that's about as exciting as I get in my life in terms of risk taking. Maybe I won't be able to finish this game after all, but thank goodness I've managed to unearth that one playthrough that just is completely silent.
And I always think it's interesting, all three of us stream these games and we've all been in a situation where we have been stuck live on air for an extended period of time. And, I'm not like, as I go on, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes on a puzzle I can't figure out, I'm starting to think it's like, oh my gosh, there are people watching me right now. And not only are they bored, but I look like a giant dummy up here right now. And it's always interesting. I've actually said before, it's like, when I'm making like VODs of this, should I like cut out those bits or fast forward through them? And it's like, no, that's a lot of times where, some of, that thought process, I think is what oftentimes viewers want to see. And, it's always fun when you have that breakthrough. I think for me, increasingly as my adventure gaming has become, sort of participatory in the sense of doing it, with an audience watching it, it really reminds me of what it was like to play games, shoulder to shoulder with friends as a kid. And, it makes you appreciate parts of these games you might buzz past otherwise,
100%.
I am looking at screenshots of Neuromancer, a game I've never played and have no knowledge of, but boy, oh boy, do I love how it looks, at least.
It's gorgeous.
It's
gorgeous.
It is. So this is another EGA 16 color game. And boy, oh boy, like, because the thing is, we just talked about Beneath a Steel Sky, which obviously owes a bit of a debt to William Gibson.
Oh wow!
And one of the really fun sequences in Beneath a Steel Sky is when you enter like the computer space.
Yeah.
And so I love how they render this in this game with all these CN cubes and all the like the two tones of green that you have available. It actually, like, I think it works extremely well for
Cyberpunk.
Yeah. It's definitely a palette that plays really nicely with Cyberpunk.
It's so cool. Like that, even the story of the production of that game is really cool. Like Brian Fargo designed it. And if you ever try this game and you load it, they've got this loading screen music. That's Devo. It's a Mike Mothersbaugh track.
Wow.
Really?
Is
Yeah,
it
and
like
it's like a PC speaker. Yes,
Oh
and it's really
man.
good. Like it's
Of course it is.
shockingly good. I mean, for a PC speaker, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
expect PC speakers to sound good, but this one actually is a kind of amazing
Wow.
how they managed to make it actually sound like okay, you can actually recognize the song that this is.
You know what? Note for myself when I edit. I'll drop that. I'll drop this in. We'll hear it play a little bit under us for the next bit.
Yeah.
So you said earlier that for a while at least you were playing specifically you were sticking to EGA games.
Yes.
And again, like I haven't seen a ton of your streams because we stream at the same time. But every now and again when I would pop in and watch for a bit, like at first I saw you playing like I think a lot of what I'm really familiar with, a lot of like, like Sierra and some of the Lucas, and I think you played some of the Apogee sharewares. Is that right? Or am I just crossing you because I know you were involved with the Give Cosmo Pants?
No, I play Biomenace.
Oh
as
yeah,
well. Like, I used to have a
Biomenace.
Redemption. Yeah, Biomenace.
But then I started popping in and watching you play these games I had never heard of, and I was like, where did these come from? Like I've never heard of this. And so I'm curious, are there any games from that? Because the 16 color era is relatively short, I kind of think.
Yeah.
What kind of interesting games have you found that are kind of off the beaten path, if any?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I did find some really good ones. Hold on, let me open up my own YouTube channel.
Sure.
So I could tell you the ones because I do have them all set up on playlists, and of course my memory's no good. So let's see here. Let's look at my playlist. Yeah, I found some really some hidden gems actually that are EGA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Omnicron Conspiracy.
Yeah.
Was kind of amazing. It's a bit difficult in some places, but what's kind of amazing about that one is it's got a very unique interface. It's EGA, it's a sci-fi game. And what I loved about this one was when I started to play it, somebody who was actually doing a remake for the game, who's basically remade the entire game from the ground up, including adding ambient noises, music tracks, another ending, a notebook feature, redrawing some of the portraits and everything. His name is Streaksy, and Streaksy sent me a build that's basically finished. And I got to, I was playing the original and I was having a good time. And he said, you know what, I've been remaking this game. So I switched over immediately to his remake. And it's everything, every aspect of it, UI, everything he's improved upon. And so if you watch my play or you skim through it, you'll see me start playing it with the original version, and then I transition into Streaksy's version. And it's just amazing to see what he's done with it. So for those reasons, also, another reason I love this particular one is Streaksy put like a Crimson Diamond Easter egg.
Oh, that's lovely.
Into this new Omnicron Conspiracy build. Like I don't know if it's ever going to be publicly available, but if you do want to see what he's done with it, for sure that one is really beautiful. There's a game called Chamber of the Psy-Mutant Priestess.
Yes.
Which
incredible title.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Box art.
The box art's incredible. The title's incredible. The art is incredible. The game makes almost no sense. It's almost unplayable. It's actually, it's kind of unplayable. There is a walkthrough if you want to see it for yourself, but it's just so different from just anything else you could possibly play. I cannot recommend it as a hidden gem to play, but I would recommend you just to take a look at it because it's kind of fascinating to see. Another game that is genuinely good to play from beginning to end is a game called Earthrise from 1990, which is a text parser. It's just an EGA adventure game, another space one, mostly made by this one person. And I heartily recommend it to play it. It's kind of like a kind of Space Questy in a way. But with its own feeling to it. I love the graphics. I love everything about it. So that one, 100% Earthrise, 100% recommendation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 100%.
Note this one.
Yeah, I'm leaving that for you, Jess, because I know that
I'm looking for new Space Quest ups.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at this.
It's really cool. Like the gameplay is really cool.
I
love that
do
game very much.
like the look of it.
Yes.
Oh.
It does look really cool.
Another game that I've played that I don't know if I could recommend it because it's really difficult, but there's a full walkthrough for this when you want to experience it yourself. Legend of the Sword from 1988. It's got the most incredible UI that you'll ever see. It's kind of ingenious, actually. I want to make a game like this where the UI dominates like 90% of the screen, and like 10% is actually like a little graphic that shows you like the region that you're in or whatever's happening in the game.
Oh yeah, this is like postage stamp graphics. This is
exactly.
Look at that.
Yeah. It's great. It's ingenious. And yeah, I love like it kind of looks like an RPG, but it is a full-fledged adventure game. It's another text parser adventure game, but it's kind of brutally difficult, I would say. But I do love it for its uniqueness, and you probably kind of could get through it, or at least you'll have a fun time with it for a little bit. Just the way that it was. I think it was like 4 people made that one.
Oh, and I'm looking here at Mortville Manor. I'm scrubbing through.
Oh gosh.
This has that like high res mode EGA where it has like the
verticals.
Yeah. What a funky look.
Yeah, I don't know if I could responsibly recommend Mortville Manor to play. It's tough. It's very it's a French game. I don't know if that means anything to you, but it's a French game.
Means something.
Yes.
Because also Chamber of the Psy-Mutant Priestess, I believe, also is a French game.
Okay.
But it's a translated. So the version that I played on stream was translated, but it is very difficult to understand. And I played it with a walkthrough. I gave up really, really quickly on that one. But I have seen streamers play it and figure it out with a lot of help from their chat. There is a sequel to that game that's not EGA called Malpd Manor, which is kind of borderline impossible. I don't know if you guys have ever played it or heard of it.
Is that that's a mystery game, right?
Yeah, it's another mystery game.
We have talked about that because Robot Spacer, who's the streamer, completed it, and we're well familiar with that. In fact,
okay, I watched that very same playthrough, and I would actually be sitting in on his streams watching that because that was an incredibly challenging game, but it was really satisfying to watch him get through it with a lot of help. Of course, I don't think anyone's getting through that game without a lot of help. But yeah, I mean, I would say those ones for the most part were kind of really kind of, as we said, like back in those days, anything went, and what a fascinating time to have made games, and we get to play them even to this day, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool. And where have you, like, because some of these I've, like, as I said, they're kind of off the beaten path. You're not going to find them on GOG or Steam or whatever. Where like, are you just looking at like abandonware sites, or how are you finding some of these EGA games?
What I did was I went on Moby Games and I looked at everything between like 1988 and like 1991 or something like that.
Perfect. Yeah, no notes. Perfect.
Maybe 87 to 91 maybe. It's just like 300 games or something. I just kind of looked through all of them just to find something. That's how I did it. But then also, Twitch has been amazing in terms of like finding other retro Twitch streamers who don't just play DOS. Like a lot of people, like, they play MSX games or PC 88 games, PC 98 games. And that's a whole other education about stuff I had no idea about, like that Japanese market of games. And I love watching retro Twitch streamers playing, the most obscure stuff I'd never heard of. But a lot of those PC 88, PC 98 games have the most gorgeous pixel art you're ever going to see.
Wow.
With some really difficult gameplay or some story or their RPGs or something. And it's really nice for me to put that on a second screen while I'm working and get to see this other part of game culture that I had no idea about, that is beautiful, and maybe something that I not necessarily might want to try to get through myself, but it's wonderful to see just streams about that. And I think the fact that I started to watch people play that really obscure stuff kind of did encourage me to play more obscure stuff, like Portopia. Well, Portopia is kind of well known, but it's the sequel games, like the Yuji Horii sequel games. That kind of encouraged me. And one of my friends, Ann Kay, who plays a lot of retro stuff, she actually said, okay, well, Julia, if you want to play this, and here's an emulator. And so, because she kind of helped me figure out how to even play this stuff. Like one of her friends actually developed this emulator that I played Portopia on. And so it's all these, it's incredible to me, all the different kinds of communities you have around games. There's like dozens and hundreds and thousands probably of them. And they all are super passionate about that one area. And then there's so much to learn in that area. And they're always happy to help share that knowledge. I've really benefited from that. And that's a big reason why I started to stream like this Japanese stuff.
You mentioned PC-88, and again, that's something I have zero
Mm-hmm.
knowledge of, and so I just Googled PC-88 while you were talking, pulled up this like Reddit thread, PC-88 cityscapes, and I'm just seeing like
Yeah.
the most beautiful.
I've seen this
16
exact
color.
Reddit thread. I know
Yeah.
this one you're talking about. Yeah, no, it's gorgeous. Some of those games are
Unbelievable.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what that arises, the reason that arises is there's a few factors that kind of created this incredible culture of incredible pixel art in Japan. Like one of them is the computer displays had to be higher resolution to display Japanese text, right? Because
Right.
we have like this very complicated characters. You can't
Can't draw them in
Latin
8 pixels.
exactly
Yeah.
exactly it's impossible, so they would have very high resolution monitors, but then of course then the trade-off was in performance, like they couldn't. So that's why a lot of these games are fairly static images but beautiful images. And then you also have this tradition of like manga artists,
Yes.
like comic artists, right, who have this incredible draftsmanship that then they brought that over to this gaming aspect. So the fact that these were a bunch of like very static images that are just gorgeous was perfectly in line with what they were used to in terms of what they would produce in that other media. And you have those together. There's probably more factors in it as well, that you just get this completely other type of gaming. And I actually really like mostly that static type of game, like a lot of movement on the screen. I hit the mic. I'm not too crazy about a lot of movement on the screen. I'm not too crazy about 3D games, but like these like very static, staid, gorgeous 2D pixel art games are completely up my alley. And so yeah, like I don't know if I'll ever like delve into that stuff because a lot of it is poorly documented or documented in Japanese, and it's kind of challenging to get through. But I love the fact that I can sit and work and watch somebody else do that, and I get to kind of partially experience that as well.
Well, Jess, do you have anything else, or we?
I think we've covered it all. Julia, this was amazing. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
guys.
joining us. This was an absolute pleasure.
I learned
Well,
stuff
I had a lot
today.
of time. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
I learned stuff too. No, these are always fun conversations. And I'm going to say every single time when I get invited to come talk on something is like, thank you for inviting me. Genuinely, thank you for inviting me to talk, because it's hard to get yourself in front of people sometimes, or like for people to like learn about your game. People still to this day, I'll, comment on my YouTube channel saying, oh, I've just found your game now. And I'm delighted to see that, because that just means there's more people I can reach. I'm always happy to come talk about whatever I'm working on, because I do want to reach those people that would enjoy it. Like the people who like miss text parser games, or they love EGA games, and and the idea that someone could come out with something like that nowadays is not a usual thing. And so if I can reach those people and find them, like that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, this was an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Yes.
and I'm sure I could speak for Jess here as well. Like, to the listeners, we both recommend like Crimson Diamond. We both
Absolutely
loved it. So,
and where can people find you online if they want to watch your streams or see your portfolio or things like that?
Yeah. Well, first I will mention, the Crimson Diamond is available on Steam. It's available on GOG. It's available on itch.io. It's also available on Fireflower Games. So those are all the places you can find it. You can find me on Twitch on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm _Maple Mystery. I've been streaming game development for my next game, my little tiny The Deadly Bluff. This is a little cozy mystery adventure game based on my a kind of a trip that I took to Nova Scotia. So it's about rocks again. It's about Nova Scotian rocks.
Love it.
So yeah, it's based on a tour that I took there. Actually, I actually booked a tour where I had a guide and we kind of chipped zeolites out of a cliff. And zeolites are a certain kind of crystal.
Do you have a background in geology? I guess we're wrapping up. I have to now.
This seems like something we should have asked like 45 minutes ago.
Yes, but now we're asking. So
yeah.
I do not, but I've always been interested in rocks and in mineralogy and in geology. And the Crimson Diamond was the perfect opportunity for me to get to like really delve into that interest and further develop that interest to the point of, like now that it's become kind of like a hobby for me, where I have done a couple, booked a couple tours. Like there's there's a place in Ontario called the Schickler Occurrence, which is famous for its fluorite, which is like a purple or white mineral. And I've gotten there and I've dug up some fluorite of my own. Yeah, I went to Wallace Bluff, which is where the Deadly Bluff is set in Parsboro, Nova Scotia, and it's famous. It's been famous for hundreds of years for crystals called zeolites, which are crystals that form within these basalt cliffs. Like there are these like bubbles, like voids that form within the basalt, and then these crystals precipitate and form. And it's been famous, and that's why I wanted to go there. So I went down there. I had some friends over there that I visited. The level zero NPCs, two of them do live in Halifax, and then I rented a car. I drove up to Parsboro, and I did this rock hounding little tour. So yeah, that's why the Crimson Diamond is what it is. It's because I just took everything that I'm interested in and I just stuffed it all in one place and gave myself permission to study about Canadian history, study about mineralogy, study about all the stuff that I kind of didn't really take the time to do just in my own life. It was a good reason to get into that stuff.
Well,
but yeah,
That's incredible.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for listening. You can send us an email at questquestpodcast@gmail.com. Please rate and review. You can watch myself at PS_Garrick on Twitch. And Jess, you are...
I'm Decaf Jedi.
And join us next time when we discuss Space Quest 4. So, Julia, quick question. Have you played that EGA version of Space Quest 4?
The EGA version is... No, I have not played the EGA version.
It's one that has a bespoke EGA version. So now
oh my goodness.
One more for your list.
That's fantastic. I know that they did that. I think, did they do that with King's Quest 6? Someone do that with...
Who did they? Oh, yes, a fan did a demake of 6 into AGI.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's the official EGA Space Quest 4.
Oh my gosh.
Ugly.